everyone. Welcome to a special edition, but our 10th session for hashtag Grow Her Game, Filipinas Football at Home series. Today we have a special roundtable discussion on Australia/New Zealand winning hosting for FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 and what it means to the Philippines. Today we have with us various women in women's football, and without further ado, Natasha Alquiros to introduce everyone with us here today.
Hey everyone, and of course, it's great to have back on the show none other than Ina Palacios, one of the pioneers of women's football, the growth of women's football, current team captain of the women's national team. Hi Ina, and welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
And of course, we also have none other than the Miss Universe of football in the Philippines, Marielle Benitez-Javellana. Needs no introduction. She's the all-around player, coach, mommy, all-around Miss Marielle. Welcome back.
Thanks, Tosh. Naj. Thanks for
And
having me again.
of course, last but not the least, someone who's well known behind the scenes, but this time around, she's part of the screen. We have our very own Mia Montayre, who's been very crucial in terms of making sure that the awareness of women's football is brought about to everyone at home and all around the Philippines and all around the world. Welcome, Mia.
Thanks for having me. I know this is a change of pace, but it's a welcome one. Basta lang for women's football.
And of course, we'd like to start off this session with, as we talked about earlier, that very fantastic news of who will host the 2023 World Cup. It is already decided. It was decided last Thursday that Australia and New Zealand will be co-hosting for the Women's World Cup. And it's going to be a first of many. It's the first, a cross confederation FIFA World Cup hosting. It's the first FIFA Women's World Cup in the Asia Pacific and in the Southern Hemisphere. So let's talk about first of how close it is to the Philippines, and how great news that is, knowing that the World Cup, or to be able to watch it, will just literally be a plane ride that's just a few hours away. Ina, what do you think about that?
Well, when I heard that Australia and New Zealand were gonna host the next World Cup, I was so happy because one, it's so close to us, and two, malay mo we can make it na that time. Well, just very very excited and really looking forward to, well, if we could be there playing. If not, I really hope to be there and watch. But I hope playing, really, more than anything.
And of course, as you mentioned, that we were talking about, that joint bid and a lot of the improvements that they're making along the way for the 2023 World Cup. So first, it was a close competition of that bidding between Colombia and Australia, New Zealand, wherein Australia and New Zealand won 22 to 13 votes. And the big news also is that the number of teams that will be participating from 24 with that big jump to 32 teams. There isn't any final news yet with regards to how those slots will be divided. But Mia, in your opinion, how do you think it's going to be divided among the countries?
Okay, so let's base it on how it was last time, right? In France in 2019, there were 24 teams there, and then 23 left, plus the hosts France. And the distribution, how it went was like, for AFC there were 5 slots, and the CAF they had 3 slots. That's Africa, and CONCACAF and had 3.5. CONMEBOL had 2.5, and then OFC 1 slot. And but the most I think the confederation that had the most teams or slots was UEFA, which was 8. But for this, since we have 32 now, if you take out 2, we remove already Australia and New Zealand, so that we're left with 30. So that means there are 7 more slots to be distributed among the 6 confederations. And I personally think that hopefully AFC would get 2 more slots. Yeah, I think that's the most that I could hope for right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And of course, fingers crossed along with that. Ina, can you take us through as well as how much the Philippine women's national team have improved throughout the years, especially when it comes to World Cup qualifiers? And slots and with the chances of the Philippines to qualify for the 2023 World Cup?
Okay. So last World Cup, we went to the qualifiers. It was the Asian Cup finals, and we placed 6 out of 8, and they took 5. So we missed it by a slot, which is painful. But on the development side, I think the team has improved so much in terms of chemistry, where we really play better together, and we have been improving. And because of that, we resulted to many wins now compared to before, and that's a big jump, also a big confidence booster for everyone, and also hope for the team that maybe with that, with what we have, we can achieve more, and especially that we're all hungry because of the result last SEA Games. We hope that we get to be better and do better also as a team. So yeah.
And of course, in the last World Cup, Thailand played in the last World Cup. And, you guys went against them in SEA Games. It was a really tough match. You guys, took them out. But it also says of just how close the rankings are within the Southeast Asian teams. And, Yel, I just want to ask you, moving forward, knowing that the Women's World Cup will be in a favorable place, such as Australia and New Zealand, close to us. Second is that there's additional slots, so bigger chances for the Philippines to be able to qualify. How do you think, or when should the women's national team be preparing already for these chances?
Honestly, I think the team of Ina should already be considered. The past tournament should have been their preparation if we really have a goal of making it to the Women's World Cup. I know it's frustrating. We always say back in the day, we missed it by one slot. We missed it. We were so close by how many goals if had we only won those matches. But I think as the years have gone, we are actually really closer and closer to taking a slot in the Women's World Cup. And with this announcement, it just makes it a little bit at the hand's reach, I would say, for the Philippines to get that slot for the Women's World Cup. So I don't want to say, jokingly, I said, we should be preparing. We should have been preparing a few years back. But I think with the team and the development of our women's team now, you can count their exposure in the previous Asian qualifying as part of that growth in eventually hoping to make it to the 2023 World Cup. So I think they just have to continue preparing, not have this pandemic, and plans should really be laid out for the next 2-3 years if we really want to make it to Australia World Cup.
Can I just add on to that? Like
Go ahead.
on last World Cup, the past, I would say 4 years, we've been playing more than one tournament, and that's a big jump from before, like our time. Let's say our time, because I was with you guys. We only had one tournament a year, right?
Yes.
Since 2016 up to last year, 2019 was the most. We would play 2 to 3, and that's a very good exposure, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've also developed, because we were playing like 2-3 times more than the last 10 years, I would say.
I also just want to say something that I know we all got excited when the news came out, because especially with the news of the expansion to 22 teams. While it will get our hopes up, I think it's also good to remember that, sure, Australia, they're already taking a slot, right? Automatically, so they're out of the picture. But you have to remember, South Asia, there's still Myanmar, there's still Vietnam, and then you have to remember there's still South Korea. North Korea, PR Korea. So yeah, you have to be the team or the PFF. They have to really focus on how to prepare for this.
Yes, I think, you're correct. And as much as we are kind of like salivating or super excited for this, the rest of our neighbors are doing so well. I mean, the showing of Vietnam in the last SEA Games and AFF were
They're
quite
so good.
spectacular. Yeah, so this is something we have to consider as well, despite performing so well in the previous qualifiers.
definitely. It's great that we've been performing well, but of course, moving forward, we can't just be satisfied with what we've done, but more
Of
just
course.
use that as stepping stones of how do we do it better? How do we do it even more? Because as we said, to be able to catch up with the other countries, we have to always take steps moving forward and never be satisfied of just exactly how we're preparing. Because
Yes.
there's a lot of chances for women's football.
In line with that, the preparation topic, Ina, I just want to ask, how big a help was it like that you had international training camps last year and the year before that?
It's a different feeling, no? When you go outside the country to do international camps, you're very much focused. You have nothing to worry about, and all you need to do is play and improve your game. I think it helped us a lot because one, we get teams to play with that are much better than us, and it puts us on the ground because when they put us on the ground, then they show us what else we can do to help our team get better and be prepared for facing the powerhouses of Southeast Asia because they are very good. Again, when they're improving, I know we're improving, but they're also improving with us. So we have to still do twice the work and even three times to be able to beat them. And it's not easy. Again, it takes a lot of time and effort from everyone in the team, including the staff, even the federation, and most especially the players. So with the international camp, I would say it's one of the best times I've had also because it's really, you bond with your team more. You get to work on things that you guys don't normally do here because we're so distracted. Some go to school, some go to work, and in camp, there's none of that. It's literally just the team, the field, and the food in front of you.
And the milk. Don't forget the milk.
Oh, Japan was so good. Japan was so good. Our meals are our favorite part.
Did you have any sushi by any chance?
Yes, our chef prepared some. Not our personal chef, but the chef from the facility prepared a lot of good meals for us, which is really good.
Because Marielle and I had an experience of Genesis and not having sushi the entire trip.
That's right.
At least
No, but
ramen.
I really agree with Ina, and it's really the quality of preparation that the teams would bring in, and even with the youth national teams, we always say we're so close. We've gotten silver medals in the AFF and the AFC, and we've only lost to Thailand by 1-0. The next year, we lose with a bigger margin. So I think it's really the preparation, whether you're in the senior national team or the youth national program. How do we prepare for an international tournament? We can't just bring a team and come out to the tournament. You have to have those training camps. You have to have those friendly matches against other national teams, so that it really builds the team together. Individually, the player becomes more confident. They're able to work on their weaknesses. They realize the quality of game outside the Philippines. And I think at whatever level, those pocket camps or international camps would be very important in preparing the team as a whole when they play in tournaments.
But talking about the preparation, in terms of like you mentioned, yeah, we medal in the younger age groups already. Do you see like the connection already funneling from the youth national teams onto the senior women's team? Is there a direct line already for them to make it possibly to the next roster in preparation for the Women's World Cup?
I'd like to think that from the youth team that won under Coach Let, there have been a few who are able to play. You have like Joy Semasio from that youth group slowly making her presence felt in the national team. But I would like to think that there is a finer line wherein you are U14, you make it to the U16, and then we have a U17 or a U19, and then they come into a U21 program and then play for the senior squad. Because right now you have girls who excel from U14 to U16, where we've proven that the Philippines is maybe in the top 2 in Southeast Asia. And then we have that huge gap because we don't have a U19 competition or program. So we see some of these girls, falling out of the radar of the PFF program, and then into this that don't really make it to the senior squad. So I'd like to think that the next few batches after that first team that medaled when they were U13, that they slowly, go into a U19 program, U21, and then to the senior squad. I think that would make the senior squad a little bit more experienced, having been able to play international matches at such a young age.
And definitely, yeah, as you're talking about that, from that point of view, it also fosters a lot for the PFF to be able to make sure that those goals that you have are achieved, especially for the growth of women's football. So, I'd like to just dial it back as well to the Women's World Cup for 2023. Couple of news have been coming around as well, such as that for the growing reach and professionalism of the women's game, the prize money will also be doubled. And also the circulating news as well of FIFA releasing COVID relief funds for the national teams and all that, and FIFA requiring 50% of those funds, whatever will be released, that 50% of that should go to women's football.
Minimum 50%. Minimum
50%. So Belay, someone who's been working as well, close to the PFF, if the funds really do come in and women's football gets what they deserve, how should that money be used to be able to help develop the women's football team?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to look at the bigger picture, no? So this is more of like how we see it's overall, actually, it's not just the women's, how you see the Philippine way of football developing it, because we have yet to really integrate the system of play from bottom up. So we have to start from that. Start from what exactly are we going to teach? What are we looking for? What is the Filipina football player that we are looking for? So once I guess that has been established, of course, now we know that our former technical director, Coach Aris, is now with FIFA as a technical consultant. The shoes still have to be filled, and obviously a big part of the direction we go in will be coming from the technical director as a whole. So I think a lot of that will go to talent identification, talent development, how we find more of I've said talent so many times, I don't know why, but how we find the talent, because we're more than just the NCR, representing the Philippines. We are Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. We are girls who are living abroad. We are like this big grasp, but then we have to go back to what are we looking for? Who is the Filipina footballer that we have to identify? So a lot of that can be answered by like young up and coming coaches like Coach Marielle here. So maybe she can chime in.
If it's just the talent identification, like what you said, we have talent all over. It's a matter of giving maybe opportunities where youth national coaches, senior coaches can scout and find these talents. So it's providing it's not answering your question, Tasha, where that money will be put, but maybe having those tournaments, having those venues where these talents can be identified. It's so easy to say that there's a lot of money that's coming in, or more than 50% will come into women's football, but we all know that doesn't go directly to the national team. You have coaches education, you have women's referee education. Like, I'm very proud that our former teammates are FIFA referees, and they're, our assistant referees in these AFC tournaments that we also hope to see that they'll be representing the Philippines in the Women's World Cup. So I'd like to think that the talent identification that Belay is saying doesn't only speak for the youth players or the senior players, but as well as maybe referees or officials, match commissioners, who can really help grow the game for Philippine women's football.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
True, definitely. But I think that as well, to add to that, one of the areas that I hope money also comes into is to help the girls now, right now as well, is in the women's league. As we were talking about earlier, places like Australia and Japan, they're really professionalizing their women's leagues. And I think that for girls to be able to reach that next level, as we always mentioned, they need to be getting that number of games. And it's very expensive to have training camps abroad. You can only do that so close to the tournament. But I think just for the holistic develop of women's football in the Philippines, it's very important that a portion of that money goes into the women's league as well. Mia, I want to ask you as well about how, with the growing support for women's football, for women playing football all around the world, how can we personally be able to continue to make sure that there is continuous support and that we're taking in more people to shine that light on women's football?
Yeah, I think the most important thing really is to keep up what we're doing, but we shouldn't be complacent or be satisfied with what's happening now. So, of course, we have to somehow level it up even more. So, like for example, media exposure, most importantly, which is one of the my roles. We have to even amp it up even more so that like well, for example, me, I take photos. That can only do so much photos, but I think it's more important to have videos, footage of the games, highlights of it being shown, so that it can the girls, other Filipinos can see how amazing our footballers are. You guys are. So that's one thing. But I think also as well, the leagues right now, for example, in the previous PFF Women's League, one thing that I am really trying to advocate is you should not just be at one place. Although I know there's a lot of benefit coming from the PFF Women's League being done at Carmona because it is the PFF it is a PFF facility. I think it's a good idea to bring the league around Metro Manila at least. It's like in a way it should be able to expand, give the girls the game more exposure, so that like for example you have games for a weekend at one location, like let's say Rizal, and then if you move it to another location like up north in Bigaman, the girls there, the fans there have an opportunity to watch the girls play. And then if you move it to another location, the people from that area will get to see the girls play. That way, I think it should increase interest in the game, and who knows, it could inspire little girls to take up the sport. Yeah, that's just a few examples.
Yeah, Tosh, I really like the point of view that Marielle and Mia brought in. It's like it's more of holistic overall. All of us contribute to the growth of the game and to us making that push for a qualification, because it's not just, of course, the main team itself. There's also a whole lot of people behind them, a lot of promotion of the game for us to really um, get some sort of support. So I like that they bring in those sides of it, because we really do need to work on the media and we really need to work on the promotion side of it, because there is a lot for us to show. Yeah.
But I think, Tash and Belay, that would really be in the next couple of years. But if our goal is for Ina and the girls to make it for the Women's World Cup in New Zealand and Australia, then I think there should also be a lot of focus on how to get the current team now the quality of training that will help them prepare for the qualifications for the Women's World Cup. Sabi nga natin, all the other teams, all the other countries are also salivating for that spot. And I think the only reason why we're excited about it is because we know that we are so close to making that dream a reality. I think if it was a far off dream, we wouldn't be talking about 2023. Maybe we'd be talking about 2030, in the next couple more years. But because it's so close to, for us to really be able to, if you put in the hard work, you put in, the quality of preparation, 2023 Women's World Cup can really be a reality for Philippine football.
Definitely. And as what Mia was talking about earlier, about like putting also as well more budget and being able to make videos. It's so important for players to have videos, highlights during games. And I think that one step, that very crucial step, will also help players now in a sense that they can make their CV, their football CV, even better. They'll be able to have highlights of their games. They'll be able to, create their own YouTube videos of, the highlights that they've had. And moving forward, that will also help them and push them to be able to try to apply to go abroad.
Get scouted.
Try to get out.
So if someone needs a goalkeeper, hi, I'm here. I'm kidding.
That's
Why not? Why not?
Their level of football, because
I don't have videos.
And one thing that was very interesting as well during the bid of Australia and New Zealand was the president of the Australian Football Federation, Chris Nico. He said a very interesting line, and it is that women's football is more than a game to us. It's a social priority. We are proud of the role that we are playing to make gender equality a reality, including equal pay for our men and women. That's such an empowering line. And I'm just going to throw this to Ina. Ina, how do you feel about that?
Well, man, equal pay is good, but first we need to get paid to demand the equal pay. I mean, I would say the Philippines is very lucky to have players that are willing to play because of their love for the country, and this is how we honor and serve. But at some point, until where can we go, or up to how much sacrifice do we have to give? I know money is just money, it's not really, it doesn't mean anything, but it is an incentive, and it does drive a lot of people, and also help, especially that considering our teammates, most of them are from the provinces and they don't have works here. They go back to their provinces, and then that's where they go, and then they come back here. They don't have enough means to keep playing, to keep practicing. We're just very fortunate that we do. And those little things, that if you have proper compensations, you can help them stay here. You can help them keep their fitness up, and practice. They can go from one place to another without worrying if they can make it, because they're well compensated. And again, that's the dream, being able to have the equal pay. But let's be realistic. Before that even happens, we have to get paid first. And I'm so fortunate that Kaya, my club team, is trying to do the same thing. It's not much, but it's going there.
Yeah.
And I hope that the other clubs will follow, because it's one way to normalize or make it like a standard for the clubs to become a semi-pro, and we kind of bring it all together up there.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I've discussed this on this panel, but I've discussed this often, like the U.S. women's national team. There is a book written about them, and it goes through all the struggles that they went through. And what's amazing to see is that, they are a powerhouse now, and they're on the cover of this, and they're like, you see them everywhere, and for sure they get paid this for this and that endorsement. But they started out like sounding very similar to Ina right there, like, and
wow, I have a chance.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that it just took like certain like generations, like groups of women who just said, okay, like, we need to do this, not if not for us, for the future generations. Like, that's what I took from it. It's just a group of strong, powerful women, much like we have here right in front of us, is like just saying that we have to do something for the next generation, if not for me, for the future.
And I think it's also very important that, as much as possible, people would be like, these conversations are hard topics to talk about. But that's the thing. We need to be having these conversations. We have to make people sure that they know what's really happening right now. That women in the Philippines, we don't get paid to play. And it's important to have these conversations so that eventually we can change it. But if no one ever talks about it, then nothing is going to change. It all starts with being able to talk about it first. Yeah, they're not comfortable topics, but anything that requires change never really is. So I think that, hopefully that with Grow Her Game and other people being able to listen to this, they'll also, and PFF, I hope you're watching right now.
Yeah, someone is.
Right there.
We have one here.
Game,
Preach, Tosh.
monetary, able to have that money is important. We're not trying to be millionaires or billionaires. You just want to be able to just have enough. Let's start now with that. Just being able to have enough so that the
Right.
players can consistently focus on their craft. And if they
Right.
can 100% focus on their craft, then they have better chances of making it to the World Cup.
Right. And to add on to that, I mean, being a football player is a profession. So you actually need to get paid to be actually called pro. And if we're trying to go somewhere, then we have to do something,
Yeah.
And
So in time, I'm going to be sending
getting
the
heated here.
via Grab so you can see some of the methods they took to really push for not just equal pay, not equal pay to begin with, just to get paid. So yeah, I think it's something we can learn from. But I really like what Tosh said. Preach. If you don't say anything, like nothing's going to be moving. And like I said, it takes a group of strong women who want to make a difference.
Can I just say I like this group because this is when I started. I'm just gonna put that out there. Everyone, Marielle was my captain.
Yeah, back then, you were our baby.
Okay.
Do we continue with that story?
Move on. Next question, please.
Spilled milk and it was like spoiled on the carpet in Bacolod.
Guys, I learned my lesson.
It's good that we are able to bring out all these issues because there's a whole bunch of other issues from, as players, coaches, referees, I'm sure, even with the PFF. But I think it's like what Ina said, Kaya FC has started putting up a semi-pro or helping out the women's team. We need more clubs or teams who can also do that. I always say, you can't always keep throwing the blame or the problems to PFF. I think, like what Belay said, it needs a group of strong women or a group of private groups, individuals who can really help create, an opportunity for young girls or for women to be able to play the game or to be able to have careers or have a career path in women's football.
Nobody is mentioning sponsors. I think that would be also be very, very useful.
Yeah. But what, I know that you will throw this question right back at me and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot for saying it. But what, we have to determine, what package are we really selling? Like, what is women's football? What do you get? What does a sponsor get from supporting women's football? I feel like we have to create these role models, just like similar to what volleyball has done, and it's quite a phenomenon. Like, they have all these girls women that young girls look up to, and why can't we do that? We have a lot of amazing women who are doing great things apart from playing, and they still have time to prepare for the national team. So why aren't we putting that out there?
I think it's
doing a great job.
It's when you're talking about sponsors and then you're talking about having role models, all of them are exposed through social media, through the media. And again, we go back in like a full circle over here with what Mia said earlier, that we need to expose these people. And so you can sell that to people to get sponsors, right? In return, what do they get? They get quality players. They actually know what they're saying, and we give them those women football players, and to show them that they can play and they can also get something out of them. That's why they're gonna sponsor, right? Again, it's just a full circle over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of,
I agree with you. The Southeast Asian Games, with the coverage of the games, I think ABS-CBN, when we were doing the men's and the women's games, I think even Tasha was doing the games for TV5, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people were watching. The momentum was there. People knew who Ina Palacios was. People knew the players. That's a start. People,
hopefully.
young girls will follow you. It's what we do, maybe even in the UAAP when we highlight players. But I think it's not enough. You have the women's league where what Mia says also needs to be televised, needs to be on video. We have to have those highlights. It has to be like a continuous effort to promote role models, to promote great players and even greater individuals off the pitch that young players and even their maybe parents would like their kids to follow, right? So like what Ina said nga, it's a give and take. What do the sponsors get from the players or so sponsoring football, and what can football really give to the marketing appeal of those sponsors or the products? I know in I think the UAAP, basketball has always been huge, and in the last few years, women's volleyball really went up. But I think in one of the discussions, they said a lot of the sponsors still come in for or there are more sponsors for men's basketball, but there's a lot more viewership for women's volleyball. So there's still that difference or discrepancy between the money coming into the game. Though there's a more viewership for women's volleyball, there's still more sponsorship coming into men's basketball. And that's something we would want, viewership and sponsorship coming into the game of
has to change.
Yeah.
And of course, as we talk about things like this is really how we get that out there, being able to talk about it. And, it all starts with FIFA, for example. I think that they're doing really good right now, especially from the Women's World Cup, from 16 teams to 24. And then again, consistently improving, now 32 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then as well as who won the bidding. When you see the presentation of Australia and New Zealand, and of course, not to mention that the Federation President of New Zealand is a woman, Johanna Boyd.
Sure. Yeah,
she's a woman. And the fact that there are people in this...
New Zealand is a woman.
Yeah. And, the fact that in their presentation, they look at the bigger picture. Because they know that, as we all say, that football is more than just a game. Especially for us here, it's a language that we speak. Football is our language. It's how we communicate with the world. And to see them take those big strides to make sure that it's moving forward, I think that really helps push other countries as well to step up their game, including us, the Philippines. Like we're getting there, compared to when I was playing, or when Yel and I were playing way back when, to let's say 2013, 2015, and now let's say 2019, because 2020 is like, on pause. But like till 2019, there's strides of improvement. It's just making sure that we're always putting them on the edge to know that we're watching. So you better keep improving, because we're here. We'll always encourage. It's not just to criticize, it's also to encourage and to help find solutions of how we can move forward better from all of this.
Yeah.
Can I also add that one of the reasons why it was expanded from 24 to 32, right? I think FIFA recognized the commercial success of France and Canada.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to somehow convince various stakeholders to make them realize that the commercial value of women's football. So I think that's also important. I don't know how, but hopefully there's a way to make them see that there's value in women's football.
Yeah, I personally think it might take just a commitment from every single person who believes in women's football, Philippine women's football. It can move forward to do what it is to move it forward. Like, for example, Marielle doing all the things that she does to give a good name for women's football. Yeah, exactly. And Tosh, like trying to, doing all her hosting and commentating and her analysis, just putting the good foot forward for women's football. Ina, tinatayo niya yung bandera ng Philippines national team. So yeah, it's really a commitment, an individual commitment of persons, whether male or female, that are passionate about moving it forward. And then after that, a collective. How can we put all these individual efforts together as a collective? So now, are we going to step up and do that? To help like all these different aspects you've seen already just from this conversation alone, everyone has their different aspects of the game that they feel very passionate about and they are knowledgeable about and experienced. So how can we put all this together, add everyone else, former national team players, women's coaches, how women's referees, women match commissioners, how are we going to move this forward? Throwing it out there.
I was waiting that you had the answer.
I was like, wait, I thought you were going to answer that.
I thought you were going to give us the answer.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, she's on a heat.
Hashtag join, hashtag grow her game. And if you want, make a comment and then join the conversation. And then we'll engage in the conversation and see how we can do something. But yeah, it starts with the individual.
If anyone has ideas, Belay is right there.
Mia, Belay.
Send donations. We accept donations.
Flash.
The accounts will be in the screen. Joke lang. But yeah, just in general, you're right. These are the questions that we need to ask now. Though we don't know the right answer, we don't know anything at the moment. But it's important to just make sure that these questions are out there. And hopefully, the universe will provide answers for us and sponsors.
That's
so
right.
yeah, we can.
So can we go back to that first question? How does Ina, Palacios, and the senior national team make it to the 2023 Women's World Cup?
I think you can answer that question.
Oh, Ina?
Me?
No, you asked
the coach.
The coach, yes, the coach.
Like I don't know, maybe an example, a program starting as soon as possible, like 3-year program.
What's this?
A
No, a 3-year training program. Usually that's what they do.
2020 doesn't count.
2020 doesn't count.
Oh, you know what sucks actually? Like you guys said, the momentum was so good 2019, and then boom, you drop. I'm like, you get all that exposure and then back to zero.
I think don't worry, nobody's doing anything also.
Yeah.
So
even the other teams, so don't worry, Ina. Even the other teams.
It's like there's no COVID in Vietnam, so I feel like
I know.
Oh.
I mean, they're probably training.
Yeah.
I mean, we train here in the house. You kick the ball on the wall, comes back to you.
But Ina, what are we gonna do about it, right? Like this is our situation, so we have to look at it and say, are we gonna make apple pie? Or are we going to make pumpkin
Sorry.
pie? It's all up to you.
No, but this is good. Talking about this, uncomfortable conversations. It really does help the sport. Again, we're trying to grow women's football, and like everyone said here, there's so much there's many aspects that that women's football have. From media to sponsors to hosting to playing. It can't just be just the team and then just the coaches or just the players. It comes from Belay, from Marielle to Mia and to Tosh. All of us were all helping grow it, and if people just widen their perspective and say even the referees are contributing to helping the game grow. If everyone just opened their perspective on that, then they would understand better, and then they will think that it's more than just playing. It's much bigger than that. And I think this is what really we're trying to do here, letting people know that it's not easy, but we're taking baby steps to it, because we're also trying to educate by what we're doing and talking about. They learn. These are conversations you don't hear every now and then, or a normal conversations that will happen between two players or two coaches or media people. It takes different different fields to be able to touch on
Okay,
that.
so yeah.
So how are we gonna go to the World Cup? Back to
Speaking
Marielle.
of,
Back to Marielle.
I just want to say there have been people asking questions, but
Oh,
I'm not ignoring.
no.
I'm not ignoring you. I can read it, but then I'm just saying that these are kind of official questions. Everyone here is just giving their opinion, very passionate opinions at that. But these are all like purely our opinions. We are here as lovers of women's football.
Lovers.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the word, but
We are.
yes, diba? Parang everyone here is because we want to see it succeed, but we don't have all the answers. We're just discussing it coming from our different experiences. But there's one question that I feel like Marielle could answer.
Mhm.
Yes,
How
Marielle.
how would you grow the game at the grassroots level? I've seen kids who start training at a young age but eventually get phased out of the game because training or gear got too expensive.
Sorry.
How would you grow the game at the grassroots level? I've seen kids who start training at a young age but eventually got phased out of the game because training or gear got expensive.
I think that's what the problem they would say in NCR, because it is expensive it is expensive to have, to rent out the pitch. But how do you grow? I think, coaches have to be creative, and that's where I would always say coaches education is very crucial, because they're the ones who are motivating these young kids. If you have kids from Tondo, Futkal, you have these girls who are able to play barefoot and then be able to get good at the game, then eventually, get quality, or sorry, get that motivation from coaches, then they stick to the game. So I don't think that expensive equipment should really stop these young girls. If we have programs in the grassroots level, programs for young girls, when we go around, the provinces, have these young girls really, what Mia said kanina, see the game, be motivated, be exposed to the game, then I think we'd be able to grow the game at the grassroots level. And we have a lot of teams or private, or if we have those sponsors who can come in to help out these kids who need the equipment, then we are, being able to grow that game at such a young age. I mean, I think it is very sad that kids would quit playing football because of expensive gear or expensive equipment. I think there are ways for coaches to be creative, to find ways to provide those equipment for the young players. I know that there are issues with coaches in the grassroots level complaining to PFF, asking for balls, asking for equipment, asking for all that stuff. But again, we say PFF can't provide everything. I think FAs should be able to provide for their coaches, for their programs. Coaches should be able to be creative in creating, I don't know, a program wherein they'd be able to fund their clubs, their teams. There's so many ways, and I think it is really unfortunate to have young girls or young players quit the sport because they cannot have a ball, or have, not have a pitch is a different story, but not have a ball, I think we should, or the FAs and the club teams or coaches should be able to find ways to inspire these young kids to also, find ways for the young kids to find their ball, or for whatever they need to play the sport. Mm-mm.
there should be some kind of coordination now. I think balls would exist somewhere. You just have to direct the right people to help give whoever those balls.
I think it's always so easy to ask PFF for, I've been around for Festival of Football and maraming coaches na lumalapit, wala kaming equipment, wala kaming bola. But I don't think PFF should be the one answering that. I think these coaches should go to their specific FAs and ask their FAs to help them provide them with equipment. Um, I think that's why there are FAs, so that these FAs can create those programs for their youth. I would always say Davao is one FA that has done a tremendous job with with girls football. They're the girls who make it to the U14 to the U16 squad excel not only on the pitch but also excel in their academics. Cebu FA also has been very good in developing their youth coaches and youth players. So I think there are ways where the FAs can create the development in their own area rather than I don't know, maybe asking PFF for the equipment. Mm-mm.
Yeah, agree. I mean, what can I say? Agree. Spot on now. Spot on. Iko said you are spot on. So I have one comment. I don't know if it's a comment. I don't know how to take it, but I will feel remiss if I don't bring it up. Itago na lang natin sa pangalang Yoda. Yung like, he said, the discourse on how must be answered. Everyone is capable and you can enjoin such discussion further, but the how must be answered. It's the trigger. So I guess in every aspect of what we discussed, maybe give like a very short answer to how, whether it's for
We're gonna go to the World Cup.
Oh, it depends. And like what you said, like for me, it can be how you promote, how we can promote, how we can link the youth for Marielle, and so on and so forth. Ina, go first.
How we're gonna go to the World Cup? Again, it's
Short answer.
it's preparation, long preparation. And I'm gonna be honest, it's not gonna be easy, but you have to go through every challenge and sacrifice. It's about preparation, it's about support. That's it.
And the earlier, the sooner, the better. Right?
Good.
I mean, if we can start now, but no, next
No,
year.
not now.
Next
Yeah.
year.
Whenever it gets reopened, whenever it will be.
Okay. Mia, since you've been helping her out, you can answer next. How will we get promotions? How will we improve the promotions and the media and the marketing side?
Well, I think I think it's just good to keep doing what's already being done. But of course, like I think this has been the emphasis during our entire talk to do more, to somehow do more. I'm not sure yet how exactly it is, what entails doing more, but I think yeah, the exposure should be done more. There should be more coverage, photos, videos, and I think one thing that would be nice is that the positivity coming from out of the girls from the game, from the beautiful game. If you get to highlight that, hopefully it could attract sponsors or any other stakeholder who could help grow her game.
Okay, good. Okay, so thank you, Mia. So for Marielle, how to be you po? I'm just kidding. How do we link? How do we link all the youth players moving up?
For me to answer that, or you would answer that? No, I think for me, it really would be how I'm able to contribute in the youth program. I think being part of a coaching staff with Coach Joyce, Coach Elio, Coach Patrice, even yourself, Belay, to be able to share our experiences and knowledge of the game to these young girls, how we are able to create opportunities for them to eventually be able to move up and for them wanting to play for the senior squad. I would always say that for me to consider a success in my coaching or in coaching the youth team would be not winning when we were coaching them, but to be able to see them grow and aspire or play, make it to the senior national team. So I think that would be my how I'm able or how I'll be able to contribute more to the youth program.
Okay, thanks, Marielle. um, so and for me, my how I guess will be how can we support all of these like initiatives or the programs or everything that we want to happen. And I'll just go back to the statement of we have to start individually, of course, and make our own push for everything, but we have to be a collective. We have to, our voices are stronger together. And I'm going to use this for my chapter, Marielle, so don't, So, I always go back to the saying, for the strength of the wolf is the pack and the strength of the pack is the wolf. And I strongly believe that individually, everyone here is amazing at what they do. But I feel like coming together, we create something that's much bigger. So, Tosh?
Yeah. Well, for me, I guess it's that how would really be is exactly what we're doing right now, which is having a series called Grow Her Game, which is despite having the pandemic, we're continuously making sure that people know about women's football, that we have goals, we have ambitions, and COVID-19 is not going to stop us from getting there. And second how is by having, again, as I said earlier, the uncomfortable conversations. You have to make sure that we're having these discussions, making sure that people are aware of that situation. Third, of course, each of us can do as much as we can individually, but I still believe also to make sure that the people in power are accountable for what they are doing. To make sure that we're also pushing them, not just criticizing them, praising them when they deserve praise, criticize them when they need it, because we need to continuously push them to keep getting better at their job. That's all that we want. Like we push players to continuously get the best out of them. We're pushing the coaches to always take their C license, B license, A license. Same, with all the other aspects of football with the referees. So it's also to the leaders to make sure that we're pushing them to make better decisions, and we're pushing them to make sure that they give better leadership for the ones under them, because at the end of the day, everyone here just wants the same thing, and that's of course for women's football to continue to grow. And of course, with that, I think that that sums up a lot of what we've been talking about throughout the hour. And I think that I also just want to throw this out to the universe that, Ina, I'll be covering you in the World Cup 2023.
Woohoo!
I'm calling it. I will be calling it, and I'm calling it that you will be there. So these are things
That's the
you need to
dream,
see
man.
yourself. You need to believe in where you see yourself.
I got goosebumps.
Right? You have to visualize it
Yeah.
for it to
I
be
do.
real.
You have to be positive, yeah.
All right, we're saying it here. We will
Yeah.
be there.
I'll see you in 2020.
Everyone will be there.
You and you.
Mia will be wearing her photographer shirt, and then Marielle will be
Coaching.
Yes.
Coaching us.
Natasha will be covering, and then I'll be
Coach,
waving the Philippine flag on the side.
Again, we need, with all these help from everyone, we will have results if we just continue doing what we're doing. And I think we're on the right track. So I'm very excited to see on 2023 that I hope that everyone here will be in either Australia or New Zealand. So I'll see you guys there.
Yep, we'll see you there. Belay, will throw it back to you.
Okay, so thank you guys for joining us for a very special and very fun, unique #Grow Her Game. A special roundtable discussion on Australia and New Zealand winning hosting for FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 and what it means to the Philippines. Thank you for joining us. It was really a pleasure and it was really enjoyable. Although short notice, it was very exciting. to get the news and actually watch their video celebrating. And hopefully one day we will have that feeling of celebrating because we qualified or because we are hosting. So that's the dream, right? So I mean, we all can do our own parts and work together to get there. And I believe we have started the movement with hashtag Grow Her Game because we have continued these conversations, and I'm very grateful for everyone here, who the four of you especially, who really gave your time and your thoughts and your experiences to this, which made it all the more enriching. And on Thursday, we will have a regular session back again, and we will have a special international coach as our guest, sharing with us their experience of what they did during the quarantine period and how they're returning back to football in her country already. I think this week. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.